Given that cosine theta is equal to negative 3 square root of 10 over 10, and theta is in quadrant 2, what is sine of theta? All right, so to answer this question, it would probably be easiest to think about the Pythagorean theorem. So the Pythagorean theorem is sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta is equal to 1. But we're trying to find sine of theta, so we can manipulate this formula to get sine squared on one side by itself. So if we subtract cosine from both sides, we get sine squared of theta is equal to 1 minus cosine squared of theta. Now we can plug in the cosine theta that they gave us into this formula we just made and see where it takes us. So we have sine squared of theta is equal to 1 minus 3 square root of 10 over 10 squared. And the reason why we have to square it is because this 3 square root of 10 over 10 is just cosine. But here we have cosine squared, so we have to square it. Simplifying this further, we get 1 minus 3 squared is 9 times the square root of 10 squared, which is 10, over 10 squared, which is 100. Now we can simplify this further and get 1 minus 9 over 10, because we can take a 10 out of the top and bottom here. So now let's go ahead and just come back up here and continue. So we have 1 minus 9 over 10, and to do that we need like bases. So we have sine squared of theta is equal to 10 over 10 minus 9 over 10, which gives us that sine squared theta is equal to 1 over 10. But the question again is asking us for sine theta, not sine squared theta. So we need to take the square root of both sides. When we take the square root of both sides, we get that sine of theta is equal to plus or minus the square root of 10. And then simplifying that further, we get sine theta is equal to plus or minus the square root of 10. And we can go ahead and rationalize this denominator by multiplying by square root of 10 over the square root of 10. And that'll give us plus or minus the square root of 10, 10. Now, the last thing we need to ask ourselves is which one do we take? Do we take the plus form or the minus form? Well, the question here tells us our angle is in quadrant 2 and sine is positive in quadrant 2. So we take the positive version. So our answer is the square root 10 over 10.